guys, can you guess what theme this is today? I have just picked up a package from the post office, and as you can see I had to pay a custom charge, and oh my god, it was the most I have ever had to pay for customs. I think it came to just under £20, which is like pretty much like half of what I paid for all of this anyway. So I'm kind of annoyed about that, but when I opened it up, the things I got was totally worth paying that extra money for anyway. So these are some things I bought off of Etsy, and they didn't come in a box or anything, so I'm not 100% sure what make they are, but I have been trolling the internet and I found a make called Dimond Select toys, because the bits I got look absolutely identical to those, and they, like, even in real life, they look exactly the same as the picture. So they originally come in like really nice boxes. I'm pretty sure they may be coffin shaped as well, but I just got mine sort of in plain just packaging because they are secondhand. But I just thought I'd show you these little figurines. So I'm going to start with the absolute star of the show, and that is Jack Skellington. As you can see, they're quite tall. They're probably around 6-7 inches tall, and he's like proper spindly, which is something I really like. It definitely looks like Tim Burton's illustrations of him. It doesn't look too like big and bulky. Like, I know some little figurines of Jack Skellington, they kind of give him a bit of extra weight so that he's a bit more sturdy, but this guy seems to actually hold his weight really nicely. He's really nicely weighted at the top, and all of his body moves, like his head moves and his arms move. The only thing I found is these are like a little bit kind of sticky. It feels like she's kind of cleaned all the dust off with something and it's left a little bit of a sticky residue, so please excuse me if I keep doing this with my fingers, but I'm going to give them a proper little clean before I put them on display, and I'm sure they'll be completely fine. He does also have a little bit of dirt on the back of his head, but you really can't notice. So there's the little bit of dirt on his head. So he's got the classic kind of face, and then he has the bow tie, which I absolutely love, this bat bow tie. And then it's been really finely handly painted all through the actual figurine with the stripes of his suit, and as you can see there's lots of bends all throughout his body so that you can position him to look the way you want him to, and it really does sort of give it that animated look. I feel like this may be kind of like the sort of thing that they'd use when they were actually making the stock frame animation, something which could move this much. Obviously it would be a lot neater and you wouldn't be able to see the joints and things, but you can really position this in whichever way you want, and even his hands are really finely detailed with all the little bones. So this is the one that I saw originally, but she ended up talking me into getting the Father Christmas version as well. So his mouth is slightly more open. I'm just going to check something. Okay, cool. So you can take his hat off if you want to. You can't remove his head. I know some of them you can remove his head, but you can remove his hat, and it does just have a hole and a slot if you want to slot it back into it. And he's got this beard which feels like it cannot be removed. And his red suit. I know they make a version of this where his suit's like slightly more tattered, and I think I probably would have preferred that just because I prefer it like when he comes back from doing Christmas, but he still looks really, really cool. And again, he's completely movable. The only thing I don't particularly like about this one is that the little joints, I don't know how well you can see, but they are actually like see-through here. So I may just put a little blob of red paint on those just so that they blend in slightly better. Both of these Jacks have little holes in the bottom of their shoes, so that you can slot them in to this little thing so that you can display them standing up. It's quite a tight squeeze, but once they are squashed on there, they are not moving at all, and then you can display him doing whatever you want him to do in whatever position you feel appropriate. And then of course you couldn't get Jack without also having Sally, so I also bought Sally in the same version. She's the same make, and I'm pretty much sure now that I've seen her in real life that she is the Dimond Select one, just because of the style that her hair is. Her hair is kind of like rubbery, it's like a thick plastic that sort of has a rubbery feel to it, and then it's the same with the dress, which it kind of makes it look like it is made of real sort of fabric. It does have that completely different look to the actual body, but it's still really sturdy, and it's not the kind of rubber that feels like it does move and things, but you can't overly move it and twist it, so it's not going to rip or anything like that. So you can see there's loads of detail within her hair, and then her dress is absolutely gorgeous. It's completely based off of the original dress from the film, so I'm really pleased with that. And again, her joints are all movable. They're not as flexible as the Jack ones, but they do still move. And then throughout her face and her skin there's this lovely stitching. It's really detailed, which is what really drew me to this piece. And then I love the fact that there's all the stitching on her legs, and she's obviously got her shoes and her little socks, but they've gone into the effort of continuing all the stitching up her legs and things, although you can't see it when her dress is on properly. I just think that's a really nice touch that they have actually gone to the effort of fully decorating her body rather than just stopping when the dress is covering it. There is a little mark on her skirt. As I said, it's a second-hand piece, so it is expected for them not to be perfect, but the fact that these have been sat out in someone's room and in and out of boxes for a couple of years, they are in really good condition, and the level of detail, you can see that she's got her little red fingernails painted and everything. The level of detail they've gone into it, it's just amazing. It's not like anything else which I've collected figurine wise for Nightmare Before Christmas. I've just had a little fiddle, and I don't think that you are able to actually get this dress off without ruining it. The actual sleeves themselves are a thicker plastic material. They're sort of the same cast as the body. But I feel like it blends in quite well and you can't really tell. And she also has the holes in her foot so that you can put her on a little plate and have her standing upright. I do love her hands, how they've got them in different sizes and doing sort of different hand things, because it just gives it that more sort of realistic animated look rather than just having two hands which are exactly the same. And because they are from the same company, I feel like they go really nicely together and they just look really nice as a couple. I'm going to have great fun sort of positioning them, although I am holding them head to head. If you actually look at their height, they're more like this, because Jack's legs are just so long. So the rest of this bag is just full of like bits and pieces to go along with the sets. So I only got these 3 character figurines, but they come with those of extras. So I actually almost prefer the extras to the actual figurines. It does actually come with this little figurine of one of the boys who was given a shrunken head for Christmas, and he's got the cutest little slippers. So you'll probably recognise him if you've seen the film. I do sort of remember him as one of the main children which is shown. He's wearing these really nice striped pyjamas which all kind of seem to be hand painted as well, and he's holding a shrunken head there. And then look at his little slippers. They've got tiny little bunny faces on them. He doesn't have any holes in the bottom of his feet, but he is quite sort of thick and chunky, so I feel like he's going to stand up absolutely fine by himself. And again, so much detail in this, even on like the back of the hair. Gone into like the effort of using different sort of colours to give it a little bit more texture. And he was just one of the little extras that come with the Father Christmas Jack skeleton. And we wouldn't have the story of the Nightmare Before Christmas without Zero the dog, so I got this little Zero the dog figurine. As you can see, he's made out of this sort of more see-through plastic, and he's got this little sort of stand. It's not the prettiest stand, but it is see-through, so I guess you could paint it or cover it or do whatever you really wanted with it, but I'm just gonna have him sort of sat behind something so you don't really see the stand and it looks like he's just floating through the sky. So Zero is made out of this slightly thicker plastic, so he does have this really kind of like floaty flexible look to him, but he is actually completely solid, like you can't really move him at all. He looks like he could glow in the dark, so that's really cool. He does have a little red collar and I just really like him, and I have just noticed that on the end of his nose there's a tiny little pumpkin. That is the cutest little detail I've ever seen. I have been looking at this Nightmare Before Christmas cuckoo clock that costs like £300, and the only thing people say, because Zero comes out instead of a cuckoo, is that his nose should light up, but I think this looks really cool, having a little pumpkin on his nose, and I've definitely just fallen slightly more in love with this little figurine. On the subject of animals, there's also this black cat, and it's one of the common black cats that appear throughout the actual film, and he's so cute. I love how he is made. He definitely has that kind of Tim Burton look to him with his long neck and his sort of hunched over body, and of course his green eyes. I just really like this little cat, and I was going to put it in my car, but he's meant to be sort of displayed next to Sally's leg, so I think that I may do that because he's definitely would be a nice little friend to have. Although this guy has really tiny feet and no sort of holes to put him on a stand, because there are sort of 4 paws, he stands really nicely and he doesn't topple over or anything like that. So the next 2 bits are the kind of Jack-in-the-Boxes, which they have for the sort of Christmassy part of it when they're giving out Christmas gifts, and they come in these 2 little cute boxes with these little sort of like scary clown faces on them, and they both have lids. The lids don't actually move, but they're sort of secured in different positions. And as you see, there's a little detail of a hinge. Like, a lot of work and effort has gone into making these, and it's just so detailed. You've even got the stripes inside, and then underneath the boxes are just plain. They are just this orange colour, but as I said, on the front it does have this little pattern, and it does have a little windy up thing on the side as well. It then has this bit, which is, the whole of this is completely solid, but it does look like it could move. And then you've got the black cat one and a pumpkin, so you couldn't really get more perfect for me because these are 2 of my favourite things. The only thing I'd say about this is that they are both quite similar in the way that they are positioned. Like, I feel like it'd be cool if one of them sort of hung a little bit back and one of them a bit forward, but honestly the amount of work and effort and detail that these already have, like, they are pretty much the closest to perfect that you could get anyway. And then talking of pumpkins, probably my 3 favourite little bits from this collection are these little jack-o'-lanterns with different faces on them, and they're all different sizes, they're all different colours, and they have these faces carved into them, and they're really well painted. I love that they're sort of like irregular shapes as well. They're not just that usual circular pumpkin look, and I just think that they are very well made, and they're a lovely little thing to have sort of either on their own on the side or in with this collection. I think I am going to display mine all as one big collection rather than dotting it around, but I am so pleased with these pumpkins, and I didn't realise how detailed they were going to be when I bought them. Again, this one is a little bit dirty, so I'm going to have to give that a bit of a clean, but I really love all the character within them. And my leg tattoo that I've just had done, the pumpkins in it are actually based on some of the pumpkins that you find in the Nightmare Before Christmas, because I just love how they all have these different faces and they all have different personalities. It's not just the usual, you know, jack-o'-lantern face, which, don't get me wrong, I really love that. I love the way that the classic ones look, but again, I totally adore how Tim Burton gives all these pumpkins different personalities. These little guys are quite solid. They're not like overly heavy, but they're definitely not sort of light. You can tell that they aren't hollow. They are sort of like a solid plastic, but it is a very hardened plastic, so they almost feel like they're made out of clay. And yeah, these come with, I assume that they may come with the actual Jack one. I really want the Pumpkin King version, where at the beginning of the film where Jack is dressed up as the sort of scarecrow with the pumpkin face. You can get a figurine where he looks like that, and I'm pretty sure that these 3 pieces may come with that figure because it's all sort of pumpkin themed. I also have another one of these in this package so I can display Sally. This one isn't really that interesting, it's not as detailed. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still really nicely detailed, but it's not as sort of interesting and unique as the other pieces, and it does have this kind of hollow bit cut out. This is just a sack that goes with the Christmas pieces because it's meant to look like he's looking in Father Christmas's sack and finding these horrible presents, but this will just be quite nice to have sort of like as a space filler at the back of this display that I'm going to create using these pieces. Another little sort of display piece is this tiny little gift box, which is really simple. It's just a really nicely pinstriped box with a little ribbon coming off of it. And again, this is just something to put next to someone's foot as if they've just opened this gift. So the rest of the items in here, which as you can see are really tiny, they all kind of go in with the one theme, which is that they are all from the little basket which Sally gives to Jack while he's working on like what Christmas is and the magic behind Christmas, and they do kind of all fit into here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you them all separately, and then I will insert a sort of clip of what the collection looks like together and do do a little bit of a close-up on this so you can see how they all fit together really nicely. This is the biggest piece that I'm going to show you, so all the little bits that go inside are really tiny, so hopefully I'll be able to pick up the amount of detail that all of these tiny little things have. So to start off with, this is the basket. It is slightly hollow underneath. It has loads of detail in the actual construction of the basket. There's a lot of texture on the actual handle, so it looks like it's been wrapped. It also isn't perfectly shaped, which is really nice because it does completely imitate what the one in the film looks like. And then it does come with this really slightly odd thing that goes in the basket. I think this is meant to be like the little, I'll show you, to be like the little cloth that was in there, or possibly the cloth that was put on top to kind of hide the stuff that was in there. But I'm not really 100% sure what to do with this piece because it's a little bit odd, and it's like the same sort of flexy material as Sally's dress is made out of. But I think I'm just going to kind of tuck it in like that and then have everything sat in the basket. So of course the first thing I've pulled out is the little pot of deadly nightshade. Now I hope you can appreciate how small this is, like compared to a fingernail. It's probably like the size of my thumbnail, but it's really nicely written on there, like hand painted, and it does say deadly nightshade, and the back is all sort of plain, but again, like, even there's been effort to put a little silver line around the top so it sort of looks like the screw lid. And I just completely love this. I just love how small and dinky it is, and just how perfectly detailed this is, even though it's absolutely tiny. And where would you be with Deadly Nightshade if you didn't have this little poison spoon? I know that in the actual film this spoon looks more like it's got a skeleton face in it, but whatever, I think it's still really cute, and I'm sure you could probably drill a tiny little hole there to make it look more like a skeleton face. But the fact that this is so tiny, again, this is like the size of my nail, I really don't mind. And again, it's been like painted so that it has sort of like a wood effect, which is really nice. And I'm probably either going to put this in the basket or slot it in Sally's hand. So the next little thing is this tiny little mug. It's completely hollow inside, so potentially you could actually use it as a tiny mug. It does have this plasticky line on the bottom, which doesn't really give it as much of a nice finish as the other ones, but no one's going to see this anyway, are they? And it's sort of painted in this kind of goldy, bronzy kind of metallic finish, and it's got this really nicely detailed back. And then due to the fact it has this little like blob on it, I'm wondering if this makes it slightly easier to slot into someone's hand. Okay, so the slot just makes it balance slightly easier in Jack's hand. Of course you could sort of rearrange his fingers to look more like it was holding it realistically, but I was just seeing how this worked, and I'm really pleased with this, although it is kind of waving around a lot with my shaky hands. So next up, I thought these are two little milk bottles, but now that I look closely, they're actually salt and pepper shakers. So one has P and one has S on it, and they do have like tiny little holes. Like, I doubt it's going to pick it up. Again, these have the same sort of plasticky look to them, but they are so tiny, and they're going to probably be kept in the little baskets. I doubt anyone's going to notice. And then of course there's this little bottle which has the little potion-y drink that you can concocted, I can never remember the word, and it's got a tiny little air bubble in it, so it kind of gives it that sort of magical-y look. And again, this is just plastic, but because it's sort of like see-through, as you can see the light shining through, kind of casting that green sort of shadow on my thumb, it does give it a see-through look and a very kind of glassy appearance to it. And then it has the tiny little cork in the end of the bottle. This is the last piece, which is really cute. It's the little plate with the dead fish skeleton on it, which I always thought was so funny. But this, I'll just probably put this in the basket as well. It's quite sort of thin. It doesn't feel like it's going to break or anything, but the actual fish isn't highly raised, but it's still really nicely detailed. There's a lot of detail within its face and its tail. And again, this is tiny in size, but it will go really well with the other little bits that go in the basket. everything that I got in this package. And as I said, it was sort of parts of different little collections which this lady had bought and then she decided to sell. I'm sure if you have a look around on eBay and things like that, you'll be able to find some. I know that Dimond Select are mainly based in America, so if you live in America, the shipping is going to be a lot cheaper for you. They do ship all around the world, so it's no issue if you don't live in America. If you do have any questions or comments, please do leave them below. If it's sunny where you are, I hope you're enjoying the shade, and I will see you next time. Bye!